Is this thing on?
All right, let's get this show on the road.
Okay. Is this too lame? That's too lame.
That's very sweet.
Okay. The Copy and Carving Show, a place where it's safe to be you. I'm Alec Lacasse, and this is our co-host, Doug Linker.
Welcome to episode number. Ready? I have no idea.
50.
Is it 50 or
50.
49?
I think it's 50.
I don't know.
Let's fact check that.
If it's
we're off
50, I was thinking 50 in my head, and I thought, no, maybe it's 49.
No, it's 50. Our last episode was 50. 49. 49.
49. Well, there you go. What is that now?
I
How
don't know what that
unprofessional.
was. Yeah. Well, this isn't no one expects that of this show, I don't think.
50 episodes. Hokey smokes. Hey?
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
That's a big deal.
Wow.
That's a milestone.
It truly is. It's really impressive that we've managed to put up with each other for this long.
Well, it's because of people like Shawnee that we keep going.
Yep.
Big shout out to Shawnee. Thanks for the
Thank
coffee
you,
this
Shawnee.
week. And
Cheers.
Dink. Coffee is what are you drinking?
Are you drinking Diamond Plate steel paper cup coffee?
No. It's a ceramic cup.
Mm.
Probably a Goodwill find, of course. Where all my favorite cups come from.
That's a good idea. Goodwill.
And if you ask me what I'm drinking, I will tell you what I told you before, is that I have no idea.
Oh, really?
She grinds it and she puts it into little glass canisters with little snappy snap lids, and I have no idea what it is. I'm probably 8 o'clock. What do you got?
What I got is our local coffee shop's beans. My buddy was over. He works for him, and I was telling him. Well, actually, I didn't tell him anything. He made an espresso, and he said, "Ugh, this tastes watery." And he said, "You need to get better beans. These aren't fresh." And so he ended up picking me up some beans from his coffee shop and brought them over, and they are a lot better. It's definitely there's a difference. The fresh beans. So,
there's something wrong with me with the espresso.
what's that?
I am not satisfied with a shot of espresso.
Mm-hmm.
But so I make a full little 6-cup thing. Well, 6 little cups. So basically 6 shots, right?
Yeah.
And then I drink it for about a week, and my stomach says, "You're done."
Yeah. Well,
no more of that.
But
I'm just not happy with the little single one.
You should. Well, that's because it's such a small quantity. 2 options, I think, for you, Doug. One, you can get a tiny little espresso shot cup that will make you feel as though you're getting a full glass of espresso, right? Or option 2 is you can pour it in a regular glass like a normal person and just drink it. Actually, I came up with the third option. You can make a latte.
I can't do that. Oh, man.
You just add some hot milk to it. You microwave some milk. Throw it in there. Be good.
That ain't going to happen.
Really?
Really? That's silly. I never understood these.
Do you not like the extra step? Is that part of it too?
It's frothing milk to put on top.
Yeah.
Man, we have a little bit.
We have a little,
and some whipped cream on your coffee too.
Man up.
Yeah,
occasionally. Yeah. So what? What do you think? You call me less of a man?
Oh, that's right. I'm talking to the ice cream boy.
Yeah, I am the ice cream boy. Well, what's wrong with ice cream anyway?
It was a hot day today. Did you get yourself an ice cream cone, little fella?
No, it wasn't that hot. Otherwise, I may have. Thank you very much. I don't think there's anything weird about that.
I might as well get you mad at me too, because I got Sophie mad at me too. I dumped the whole tray of ice cubes on the floor and I kicked them under the fridge.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a while ago. But she's okay now. It's all water under the fridge.
Okay, that was. I knew this was a joke set up, and we're back to the good old Doug that I used to know with the bad jokes. So,
hey, I got a joke that I read it and I said, this is one that he won't get, but I got it.
Do share.
Yesterday, I got pulled over by a traffic cop who asked me if I had a police record. I told him no, but I have a couple albums of Sting.
I do know the band Police. Come on.
Okay, well, I don't know.
It's a bad joke still, though, is my problem.
It's still a bad joke. Still a bad joke, but
I like that last week you had 4 banging jokes. Whatever happened to that? What happened?
I don't know.
Do you sort of look for bad jokes? How does it work for you?
You know, it's hit and miss.
Yeah.
I laugh at them all.
Do you?
So that's why I picked them.
Okay, that's odd, but okay, we'll go with it.
But other than that, I went to the doctor.
Oh boy.
I went to the doctor to see if there's any exercises I could do to help me with my balance.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, how about lunges? And I said, well, that seems like a big step.
Oh, it's better.
It's better?
It's better. Yeah. I like that one.
Right.
That one's passable. That was a good one.
All right. What have you been up to?
Well, I have been still, you told me something. I called you or something. I don't know how we got together at some point on the phone, but I told you I was sick. And you said, well, if you have the same thing that I have, buckle up because you're going to be sick for like 2 weeks. And I said to myself, I didn't say it to you because I don't even entertain you really anymore. No. But to myself, I said, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I have the immune system of a bull, of some very virile and strong animal. So here I am a week and 4 days later, still sounding and feeling sick and tired and just coughing everywhere, scaring people in the grocery store. And I've tested negative for the dreaded disease that we all talk about no more. But yeah, and I've just been sick. And so it's kept me from being quite as productive maybe, but I've still been hanging in there and getting in the shop. So
how about that? The idea of coughing. There you go.
Yeah. Tried to hit the cough.
It wouldn't matter if you had just swept the dirtiest floor in the world and your lungs are full of dust. And if you cough now, it's like you got the Black Plague and you're like, you look around and see who's looking to see if you cough.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that funny?
No, it's true. But as far as what I've been doing, I started the week out as soon as I felt better last week-ish, better-ish, like meaning I didn't feel kind of dizzy from getting up. I went to the client's house I'd been communicating with, a client's house, not the, because I haven't talked to you about it yet, but a guy who had a giant bear carving in his yard when he purchased his home 2 years ago, and it was rotting, so he wanted it to be restored. So anyway, I went out there with the intention of starting the process and just felt like crap. It was raining and we punted it into this week. So, but it kind of got me down this rabbit trail of thinking about repairing carvings and how the best way is to execute that. And so I started calling my buddies who are like in the chainsaw carving world, and they gave me some advice. We can talk about that later, but the long story, to make a long story longer, I was able to harvest some red oak from another project that I've been working on this week. Just today, actually, I was harvesting some oak from the project, and I'm going to take that oak and I'm going to slab off the rotted part of this bear and Gorilla Glue it on, and then screw it until it dries. A few hours, take lunch, come back, and then carve the wood back to the bear's original shape. So that's my plan. So that's kind of. Yeah.
Will you bring the whole thing back to bare wood?
Oh my gosh.
I thought that you would just make the big bear and just make him a little bit smaller. Just
yeah.
tear them all down again. Get rid of all the rot.
Yeah. I'll leave that.
It's a small bear.
Yeah. That seems about like your restoration method, but,
that's right.
No one has time for that, Doug. So, so I didn't do that, but I'm excited to get to that one. But today I was, and then I want to get to some big failure in my week, a consistent failure. But first I'll say today I was refinishing a carving. So it's kind of fun to revisit this old thing that I had been working on years ago. I think I mentioned it maybe a couple of weeks ago. So just this wild animal relief carving thing that I did. And so that was just buttoning up that project, more and more urethane, like probably 5 coats on that thing. And it's been kind of a little bit of a project. And so to this failure, I have been playing with clay. And up until this week, I've been thinking to myself, this is it, baby. I'm a clay man now. This is fun. I love this. It's there's no downside. It's easy to carve. You can mold it right before it air dries, and then you can carve it, right? It's just awesome. And this week, I'm playing with all these finished leather dry carvings. I'm calling them carvings. They're clay pieces. And I'm just trying to button them up for the neighbor's kiln. And one of them is just so fragile. I pull it out of this mold that I had it set in so that it wouldn't flake and break apart. These thin petals on this lady, if I showed you guys before, I think I did, and it just busted off. So I gathered all the pieces off of the ground gingerly, and put them back and tried to put them back together with wet clay, and immediately just busted into a few more pieces just under my fingers. And so I just had that realization, I'm going to have to break the petals off. And so I break the petals off, and I finally start to make this into something that's neat, and I drop it on the ground, and it falls to the ground and breaks into even more pieces. The only remnant, the face, the center part of this flower, because it was supposed to be some folk art thing where the woman her petals are surrounding her face. The remnant, I had spent, maybe an hour and a half trying to carve and turn into this nice looking, pleasing woman, and had been filming, of course, the whole time for a YouTube video or whatever. Drops on the ground, explodes into a million pieces. It's irreparable. It's not like I can pick up 2 pieces. It's just all over the ground, like a terrible disaster of it's like a Halloween movie. So I was irate, and I just put everything down and went in the house and complained to my wife, who happened to be home, and she said, "Oh, that stinks." I came back in, I picked up another clay piece, and I just started to unwind with some carving. And as I was working on that piece, guess what happened, Doug?
You carved it too deep.
No, I dropped it on the ground, and it exploded. A second piece in one day exploded. And so I realized that there is a big downside to clay, and it is super fragile before it's been fired. Super fragile.
You were carving wood. How many times would you drop a piece of wood? There's a question.
Well, it is a bit slipperier. Like, clay is almost easier to drop, I find. I don't know why, but
it's dry.
But it's dry. I drop the wood too. I drop stuff. Wood is pretty resilient, especially on a wood floor. If I drop a wood carving, almost never is an issue. No. So I've ruined 2 pieces, and the third one, I did actually carve through it. I showed you that. I can show you what I did wrong with it.
I think it'd be.
I can't because it's actually hiding in this bag. I decided that I was going to rehydrate the whole carving to see if I can repair it for the 3rd time. It's my 3rd attempt at repairing it, but it's in here. Just trust me.
Well, it's beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah. This one I was going for like kind of Egyptian. Yeah.
You're going for the mummy look.
Right.
So, or you're still dressed up from Halloween.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he hasn't gotten the memo yet that Halloween is over.
No.
So another failure today on the front of clay. It doesn't end there. I was talking to a buddy, Austin Brantley, who's a great clay sculptor in the Detroit area, and I was asking him about some things relating to fixing these clay problems I've had, like breaking stuff and how do you repair it. I tried his methods. Fortunately, I couldn't get it to work. I'm sure it was me. I know it was me. But he gives me this idea to make a mold out of plaster that you can use to press clay into and make replicas of multiple pieces. And I had this thought, I can do this with a piece that's not quite finished, and then I can change the piece with each iteration of each casting that I did. Because it's made of clay still. Yep. And then I can glaze them all in a chromatic kind kind of way so that it starts out deep dark color and goes a little lighter with each piece. And I mount them all to a board. And I have this kind of...
Or you could go sad to happy.
Right. Yeah. Anything like that. Right. Exactly.
Symmetrical. All the same size. That would be fun.
That's a great idea, actually. So yeah, so this has just gotten my head turning. I mean, it woke me up in the middle of the night just thinking about all these options. So I finally get the plaster. I get the sand, because sand is a part of the kind of the mold making process, at least in supporting the sculpture, so there aren't any undercuts. And I make one. I stick one of my. All I have is a finished piece that's glazed and fired. So I just stick the finished piece in there just to try it out. And the next hour, I take the thing out. And what happens is you set the clay piece that you finished sculpting into the plaster to dry. Once it dries, pull it out.
Well, is there a release agent on there or anything?
No, I didn't use a release agent. That was my problem. I got too excited and I didn't use anything. I didn't even use a homemade recipe. Like, there's all kinds of stuff on the internet. You know, you could use soap, you could use oil, WD-40. People use all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah. I didn't spray it at all. I totally forgot. I was too excited. I spent hours trying to chip the plaster away from this glazed sculpture. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up soaking it in a vinegar and water. This whole thing. Anyway, so I am, I don't know, if what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, I'm about to become a clay Hercules, because I have made so many mistakes this week.
Well, that's just how you learn.
Oh, it's not been fun. But literally, I've destroyed more than I've created this week.
Do you have any one of those smash ones? Do you have like a really good face that you could just kind of like lay out and then like epoxy into something and put like shattered dreams or something?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, a metaphor for our lives.
Yeah, and then there's just these pieces of face, just like a 1/4 inch apart, and then epoxied into a solid. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I devote this piece to Doug.
It only costs you $100 in epoxy.
Yeah, right. No, a little girl, actually, I did. So for church this past week, they were doing like some sort of like, I don't know, bring your crazy friend to work day or something. I don't know, to church day. So I was there and I was carving and I was showing all these little groups of kids that would circulate through different little groups about what I do for a living. And I was showing them plaster and clay and all this stuff. And one of the girls said just something like you said. She said, why don't you like break one of the pieces, like break one of the faces apart and then try to piece it back together, but then use like a different color clay to create like a thing and then like paint the cracks and make it look like intentional. Yeah. I was like, that's pretty cool. She's a smart little girl. And then in conclusion, the last thing I did, and then I'm sorry, I'm done talking, but I made a thing out of plaster. I filled up a glove with wet plaster.
I saw that.
Kind of carved it and then set it on my shoulder for Halloween, for my Gomez costume, my Addams Family.
Well, I was wondering, like, did you shave before you went trick or treating, or?
Yeah, see, that's the problem. Gomez. Yeah, I wasn't about to put my wife through that sort of torture to see what's underneath this thing. But yeah, it worked out pretty good underneath my beard, you know.
Oh,
yeah. So, please, Doug, save me from myself. What did you do this week?
Oh, I am in the carving world. I can confidently say that I did once again absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
I don't know what is wrong with me. Other than, well, I do know I have been running off my feet for a couple weeks in a row now.
Mm.
But I did have plans. I think I mentioned it last week that I was going to do the willow bark thing. And I went out to the bush and I collected a bunch of willow bark, big chunks of willow bark. And I sat down. That was the one day. The next day I went to do the video and I just couldn't do it. I started carving and it was awkward and weird and I wasn't in the mood because I knew that I had to be somewhere else. And anyway, I just dropped it. I said, forget it. I can't make videos miserable.
Right.
And then, of course, I went and worked on my father's house, and it's just been hectic. It's just too much. And then, I don't know. I was grumpy. haven't picked anything up because, well, I have picked up a piece of wood a couple times, and then I'm not in the mood. It's not relaxing because I've got too much to do. I can't relax. So I feel, I don't know. It's strange. But
on a separate note, are they going to sell the house? Or are you guys going to sell it, or are you going to keep it?
Well, that's another issue.
Right.
But behind the scenes, we're working with a lawyer and the township because, have I said this before on the show? So my homestead I grew up in, my parents' homestead, not my homestead. When I was a boy, all it was a 3-acre piece of land with a great toboggany hill, and we had a barn at the bottom. But when I was about 10, we had the opportunity to buy all the land behind us, which is a 10-acre field, 15-acre bush, has a river through it and everything. And so we bought that when I was about 10. So I guess apparently back in the day, my parents weren't, well, I was going to say not smart enough, but how would you know? Both the properties are in his and her name. Okay. So if the house was just in Dad's property and say the extra property is in Mom's property, they could never have done this. But since they're both the same name, they merged the properties without telling us.
Wow.
So they, but on the same hand, for the last 40 years, they've got 2 separate tax bills.
Oh, what a strange thing. So they can't sell this 10 acres separately?
So we have to re-sever that 25 acres off of there.
That's crazy.
Well, it is crazy. And on top of it all, now they're fighting us on it.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So next week, I think next Monday night, we have another meeting, township meeting. And, yeah, we're going to discuss it again. It's crazy. It's frustrating. I was there, well, Saturday, I went there and, of course, nobody's there. Yeah. So, but I went around the whole property and I blew the leaves off the roof and cleaned out the eaves troughs, did the barn and the shop and cleaned all the eaves troughs, blew all the leaves off the property, cut the grass again, cleaned the laneways out in the back patios and everything. And just walking around the property going, we can't lose this.
Right.
Even the hill on the side is like all the memories you have tied up in a property. It's crazy. There's a creek on the one side too, where me and my brother would always like trap all the minnows and build little forts and stuff. And then the river and the bush where we had bigger forts when we were older. And
Would you part with the 10 acres though? Would you consider parting with that? Or is the whole thing just something that you couldn't part with?
No, I would sell the house in a heartbeat.
Oh, the house. I see. It's the backwoods.
I want the woods. Yeah. Right. I want the bush with the river. But if they don't let us do it, then it has to be sold as one parcel.
Oh,
and I don't know at my age if I want to take it over or not, because it's more work. Like right now, I only have 1 acre where I am right now.
Right.
And it's enough work because I'm trying to do all these things. That's the problem. That's why I feel bad when I can't do a YouTube video. But a YouTube video, I'm filming at 10 o'clock at night because that's the only time I can do it.
Right.
And yeah.
Would you be willing to sell your current house and then pay off your siblings with, or your dad?
No, we've talked about that.
But
it's not. The house was built in the early 70s and pretty much in the same shape. So then you dump another 100,000 into the house to get it up to snuff. And I don't know. Anyway, lots of meetings to come and discussions with my brothers and stuff and my dad. But anyway, this whole severance thing is really tying everything up.
Yeah, that sucks. I can't believe they won't just say, sure, yeah, we could separate this back out the way that it was.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, like why would it ever got merged? But anyway, this is dragging on long. But basically that's what I've been up to is that.
Right.
And then I wake up like you in the middle of the night, just with this stirring. You ever have these? Sometimes I wake up and I'm just like so many things just swirling, almost dizzying thoughts in my head, and then I'm up for like 2.5 hours. Last night I was up from 2 to 4:30.
Yeah. Oof.
I had on purpose. I didn't want it. I wanted to sleep. So
right. Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I've done that.
I'm up here fiddling around with all my gear and my knives and stuff. Just in the middle of the night, and then of course I go back to bed for 4:30, sleep for an hour and 20 minutes, and then go again.
Yep.
So,
I've done the
so
same
anyway,
thing.
the bottom line is, I think I'm just burnt out, like I've been saying for a while.
Yeah.
I did that video. That last video is so funny. Like I said, I wanted to do more, switch things up and add some outdoor stuff and more backyard adventures and stuff.
Yeah.
And now I'm flooded with camping people.
Oh.
And can't wait to see you do a trip here and a trip there. I'm like, I didn't say that.
Right.
I just said I wanted to mix it up and do some more outdoor stuff and backyard adventures, I believe I said.
Yeah.
And now it's all about the old camping trips I used to always take. But anyway.
It's funny. I was showing my brother the lake because he's been out here a couple of times before, but not really a lot. Him and his wife, they're kind of homebodies. And if Kenny may actually be listening to this, and if he is, he's a jerk. Kenny, all the way around, just not a good guy. I hate his guts. But anyway, they just don't. Our house also makes them very jealous when they see how beautiful it is and new and nice. Their house is very old and small.
I see.
No, I mean, Kenny, I hope Kenny's listening to this because he has a brand new, incredible, beautiful home, and my house is condemnable. Anyway, and it smells and it's tiny compared to theirs. But anyway, enough of airing personal grievances with my brother. He's
jealousy issues.
Yeah, right. Oh no, for sure. I'm very much jealous of his nice house, but I love the lake in the backyard. I was showing him today on FaceTime, like, man, look at this place. We have kayaks, we have boats, we have all kinds of stuff. We have beautiful. Half of the lake behind us is not inhabited. It's a natural park, preserved.
Yeah.
Perfect. Wild geese and swans and lilies, water lilies, and just herons and egrets and green egrets and white egrets. And it's like, green herons and blue herons. And I'm telling him about this, and he's like, you should copy Doug's river video. You should do like a parody of it, and just go out there and try and remember exactly what he said, and just go out there in the water.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't stoop to that level. But it did make me think. It would be fun. I know this isn't possible, but it would be fun to do an episode of the podcast on the water. Both of us just out there.
Well, yeah, that's just called a video.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's true. But
we don't have to have headphones.
Yep.
And microphones.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. You just go out there with the camera.
There was a comment on one of the last videos. It'd be great to see us do a trip like that.
And that's that's kind of the whole thing is we don't want to drive 8 hours. I don't want to go up north even. I've got someone up north who's offered me Bark, a really sweet lady who I want to take her up on it, and I will, but I just can't get the gumption to drive 7 or 8 hours up north for it now.
And go camping. And then how would you froth your milk?
Exactly, Doug. These are my biggest concerns. Yeah.
So anyway, make a long story short, I've done nothing other than run around like a wild man trying to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I still don't even have firewood for the winter, all in. Yeah, and that was my goal a month ago.
Well, lucky you, we have and out here, and I guess, what is this? What part of North America is this? I guess like Eastern North America, whatever. We've got a lot of nice days ahead of us, like a whole week of mid 60s and sunshine.
It does. Same here. It does look very nice.
Right. Yeah. So it's awesome.
So it's a shame that I have a job.
Well, that too. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I have 2 jobs. So firewood can be done between 6 and what time? When's it get dark now? Like 7:30.
Yeah, that is a huge bummer, isn't it?
It sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, and buying it is not cost effective. That doesn't make sense.
Did you have any trick or treaters?
We did. Actually, we did have trick or treaters, and it was fun. The problem was my buddy was over. I'm helping him make this coffee cart. He's starting a business, and so we're on the front yard with sawhorses and chop saws and all this equipment, and we have no light in my front yard. So we've turned on both of our cars to the headlights and the engines running. So little kids are seeing headlights blaring on two guys with masks and blowing smoke and steam and sawdust, and they're terrified. I mean, they think that this is some real massacre situation. So we literally had to yell to the kids, "Come on in," and they would. Some of them just walked right by. They're like, "I'm not chancing that. No way. Those guys are crazy."
That reminds me of a story. We only had 2 kids, and they lived 100 yards away from us. That's it.
Yeah. But well, to be fair, we probably had 12. So
we had 2.
Yeah.
Which is nice because then I don't have to sit there and wait.
Right.
I knew nobody was coming. As soon as it got dark, my laneway is so long.
Right.
No one's coming down the laneway.
Yeah. No, they need the candy by the time they're down your driveway.
Yeah. But it reminds me of a story when I was a kid trick-or-treating. We have a large Portuguese community in my town here. Yeah. And one of the things I remember, same scenario, was these 2 guys were in the garage, and we were going up to the house, and they were pulling the hide off a goat. They were butchering a goat on Halloween.
Oh, wow.
And of course, they do that. They eat them.
Right.
But it's just little kids all dressed up with their little candy bags. They're butchering a goat. It's like, let's go to the next house. Yeah.
Yes, I think this is America.
Yeah.
Well, close your garage door next time you do that.
You'd think, right?
Just some guy with a knife in his mouth, blood all over his face, look at you in your costume. Happy Halloween.
But true to form, it rained every single Halloween. It rains.
Yeah.
Seems like here anyway.
No, yeah, we got rain at so Halloween was weird for us. It wasn't on Halloween day. The neighborhood has their own thing. But then we went to church on Halloween night. Well, actually, we took our nieces and nephews out, and then we took them to church where they have this, I don't know, back of the car trunk or treat. I guess it's called a trunk or treat. And it was just miserable. I mean, rain and just like there's half of the crowd there, and it was people. No one was happy. I mean, it was funny. I mean, that's not entirely true. So there were a couple of happy people, but they were dressed in like insulating costumes that kept them from the rain. So, like the big dinosaur heads with the inflatable thing that they go inside, the fan that runs.
Yeah. Well, where Sophie's from, up north, she always says like, can't believe you don't have to wear snowsuits trick or treating here, because up there it's like winter,
right?
But anyway, one more thing exciting for me was that last night was the first Halloween in 32 years that I didn't take a kid out.
Wow.
Over the 5 kids spanned all these years, and I'm free.
Good for you, man. You just probably sat there on your easy chair and watched some Alfred Hitchcock.
No, I did something. No. Oh, by the way, folks, I apologize for Alex's movie pick last week because I watched it.
Oh, which one?
The Swedish.
Oh, that wasn't my suggestion. You watched Midsummer?
Midsummer
was not my suggestion, but that is produced by the same company that made the one that I suggested.
Oh, I thought that. How did I find out about that one? I thought you mentioned it.
I mentioned that it was a very scary movie. But
no,
isn't that wicked?
It was terrible.
I know.
It was strange.
We literally a haunting movie. Annalise and I watched it on my projector in the shop. 100-inch projector.
Yeah, folks, don't watch it. It's not good.
If you're into thrillers, it's good. But yeah, don't let your kids see that. That's scary.
No, definitely not.
So
anyway, well, there we go.
Yeah. I did want to remind everyone. Didn't suggest that movie. So, Doug is a complete mess this week. That's all I can say. The title of this podcast is "Doug is a Mess."
Doug's a mess. Doug needs a timeout. Give him a timeout.
He gives a good timeout.
I'm so worn out.
Yeah.
But I tell you, this morning too, I was so miserable being up all night. And then
that's not good.
But the sun came out this afternoon. I'm happy as a pig in mud. We'll say mud.
Yeah.
Sun changes everything.
doesn't it though?
Yeah, it does.
I felt the same way. I was bombing around outside today in the sunlight, feeling still sick, right? So I'm taking a breath to sit down. My lungs are producing gross fluids. And then just look around and you're like, oh, this is nice. It's
I was making up jobs to do outside today.
Yeah, right.
Just to stay outside. Yeah.
Yep. I was out there in the field with a log and I was like, I need to bring this into my car, but I could just take my chainsaw out here and cut it up out here in the field.
Right.
So I felt the same way. But I do like this weather, and I do like chainsaw carving in this weather. It's I do like being out in the fall and with the air and
oh yeah, that's my favorite. It's my favorite time of year. But before you jump to that media, let's. I have an idea. This week in podcast land, I was listening to a podcast, one of our favorite podcasts, the Making It podcast.
Ah,
and
yes.
The podcast that we've stolen most of their ideas from. And very interesting conversation this week on their podcast was, I forget who they were talking about. They were talking about somebody that had just earned or gained or made whatever, 52 million. I don't know what, I forget the context of how the money came, but someone had $52 million. And the question came up, as they were all makers, the three of them. And what would you do differently if you had $52 million? And it was it's something to ponder, because I'm expecting it any day.
Yeah,
right?
same.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's good to be ready when the time comes. So what would your life look like differently if you had, let's just say, $10 million?
Right. You're asking me?
Sure.
I don't have to. I could. Okay, fine. I'll go. I would probably. Well, the first thing I think of is, since I'm a really good person, I would donate in such a way to where I could participate in the donation of what's up. You know what I mean? Like give it away in such a way that it was me to the people that need it, not just like sending some money off to an organization. You know, so I don't know how much of it I'd give away. At least, you know, a few $100s, a couple $100s, but
yeah, that's fair.
Of 10 million. But no, I think that would be cool. But really, probably investing more in the infrastructure of the business that I already have. Like, I would personally like to extend into other genres of kind of like extending without going into too much detail and being nerdy. Probably extending the business that I already have. So.
Oh, I thought you were like add a 2-foot addition onto your carving shed.
2 feet would make a big difference because it's 12 feet by 16 feet. Or yeah. I love the shop so much, man. I'd probably just have somebody build this for me, but just like 3 times the size or 4 times the size. And then knock my house down and have it rebuilt in this same yard.
There you go. Push the house over the hill and rebuild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and I probably wouldn't go on like an extensive trip because I don't know why. Traveling, it's kind of anxiety provoking. I do it a lot. I'm kind of over it. Maybe I'd take my wife to Italy or something, and just stay there for a few months. I wouldn't want to just visit though for a week.
You could summer there. Summer there.
Yeah.
Summer in Italy.
Yes. Summer in Italy, yes.
Yes.
My wife and I, since we've inherited the $10 million, we love to jog in the beautiful parts of Italy that are, you know, just eastern, northern, all of them, yes, the places, yes. So what about you? What would you do?
Good. That's pretty good. Well, I would immediately quit all my jobs.
Would you?
I would.
Even YouTubing?
That's a fact. Even YouTube? I might come back to YouTubing, but initially, yes, I would. I think I would pursue this craft as far as I could take it. Maybe I become like artsy fartsy man.
Oh, you'd go back to the basics and start artsy stuff.
I think I would get proper training.
I think about that too. Yeah,
I watched our two YouTube buddies, carvers, or not YouTube buddies, but Instagram guys, in Italy with what's that famous carver in Italy's name?
Oh, Bruno.
Bruno.
Yeah.
They took like a 2-week class with this guy.
Oh, I know. Yep.
And that was amazing. I thought that something like that. That's what I'm saying. Like I would just travel around, learn from everybody I could.
Yep.
But I would definitely, wouldn't give up the hobby. I would pursue it more.
Right.
And get better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brian from Rough Craft was bugging me for months about that. And yeah, he was saying, man, you got to apply. And I just.
So it was Brian and Lucas Cost.
Yep.
That I knew that were there.
Yep. And it was expensive. It was an expensive trip. And that's the primary reason. So Brian applied for a sort of funding from his little area. And his area, Knoxville, is really good about that. Like they have a little art community, and they have like a really good, I don't know what it is, some district authority. Anyway, I should credit him too. Brian's good at writing grants apparently, and so he got funded. And I looked around. Actually, I considered it. I started calling around and looking online about available grants per his help, and there wasn't really anything available when I checked that applied to me at all. So anyway, I digress. But no, I agree. I would love to do something like that. That I was very green with envy watching all those guys work with Bruno for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. But otherwise, I don't think much would change. I think I wouldn't be lazy. I would probably get up and have a routine, and maybe I would build myself a cool carving cabin in the backyard.
Oh,
somewhere that I could go with my coffee and go like I'm going to work.
Yep.
And have a spot outside of the house.
Yeah.
And that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
I can see that.
Oh, maybe it'd be nice. Well, I have a nice Jeep. I was going to say buy a nice Jeep, but I like my Jeep.
You'd probably get another one.
I'd buy my wife a Jeep. I'd buy my wife
a
matching one. That's what I do.
Yeah.
A 4-door.
Mm-hmm.
Automatic, then she can actually drive it.
Yeah. Maybe you can
go on trips as a family. Maybe I can give you one.
Yeah. You got 10 million. Yeah.
Anyway, it was interesting because I'm very happy overall with life.
Yeah.
But the jobs get in the way.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But anyway, they had they went off different, and they're basically saying the same thing. They wouldn't change what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's not work if you like what you're doing.
Yep.
Is the saying.
True.
But
it's a good idea. It's a good thing to think about. If you have unlimited resources and money, what would you do? So, that brings me to Media Hour. Doug, what have you been listening to? What you been reading? What you been taking in? What you been watching?
Well, not much. I've very limited, but I did get on a little tangent on my free time that I did have, and I started watching Steve Wallace. Now, I didn't really know Steve before, and Steve had a tragic. His wife passed away, but he has a YouTube channel called Camping with Steve, and that's how I kind of got to know him, was hearing about his wife, and I started watching him, and he's a really fun guy.
Is he?
He's really fun, and anyway, what he does a lot of like vagrant camping, like a homeless man and stealth camping stuff. But what I liked was, it seems to me every year, he's a Canadian boy, and every year he does like a 1 week. He'll create a raft and float a river for a week every year. And I think he's doing sections at a time.
Wow.
Like right through Edmonton, Alberta. Like through the city on this barrel raft. And they camp on the raft too. And they got cots and stuff. And it looked like so much fun. So I think I watched three years worth of these trips. And they're really it's just cool. The old Tom Sawyer rafting, floating down the river and killing time. I love the idea. So that was exciting for me.
Yeah, that's pretty fascinating. I mean,
it is. It really is.
To make it out of wood, is he making it from? Or inner tubes or what? Anything?
Every year is a different iteration. So one year he did like solar with a trolling motor just to keep the raft straight. But
Cool.
normally barrels. I think barrels are key. I think one year he had maybe a pontoon one year, but yeah, really cool. And he always takes his crazy neighbor. He calls him crazy neighbor, and another redneck kind of guy, and they just float down the river. But it's just so funny to see this raft floating down the river with this big city night lights around him and stuff. He's just floating down the river. So that's what I've been watching. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
So
how about you?
Go ahead. Well, this is Crazy Neighbor, the camera guy.
No, he's actually that's his crazy neighbor.
Oh, okay. Yep. So he's filming it himself.
Yep.
All right. Pretty cool. For me, I don't. What have I been listening to? I don't know. I have been on a thing of. We talked about how it's not really fun to read when you're sick, but it hasn't stopped me from buying books. I've purchased, I don't know, 5 books in the last couple of weeks, just sitting around hearing about new things. But I did a YouTube video about this where I talked about videos that or podcasts that I've been listening to per specific individuals.
By the way, I was shocked that my name didn't come up.
Yes. Well, I thought it would be too obvious.
I understand.
I didn't want to be that guy that promotes his podcast with his buddy, but I mean, everyone knows I was thinking it. So, anyway, I was telling my buddy who's called me and asked about what my favorite podcast was. And I decided that the best way for me to listen to podcasts without getting like disappointed is finding people that I like and then trying to find interviews that they do with all of the podcasts. Right. So, I really like this guy, Steven Pressfield. He's amongst those those books that I bought. It makes up the majority of the books that I bought this week. He wrote The War of Art. He's written Nobody Cares About Your SHIT. He talks about, I think that's what it's called. And then Turning Pro is another one. Anyway, great books. I'm just starting into Turning Pro. So far, so good. I've read War of Art multiple times. Anyway, long story short, I love his podcast interviews. Steven Pressfield is great on radio and being recorded. And so I've been kind of circling around Pressfield lately. I've been really into Rick Rubin, who's a really strange guy because he produces. First of all, he's a total hippie, like a sauna guy. He's very much into health and meditation and all this stuff. But he kind of grew up in the Bronx, I believe, or Brooklyn, and was in kind of the early hip hop scene and saw that musicians were producing music, hip hop, the way that they would produce rock and roll. And he said that it was sort of not right because they'd go into the clubs and perform these R&B, these rap songs, and they didn't sound like that. They were like heavier and more aggressive, and then they would record and they would just be like, like a bip, a bippity bop, a bippity bip, a bippity bop. And he said that, a cat just, oh, hey, it's my cat. Hey, what's up? I have ADHD if you.
Yes, you do. I was just going to say that.
It got scared and it jumped out from under my front porch and made a big thumping noise. Anyway, wow. Tangent. Not professional at all, but he would produce rap in a really interesting way. He was kind of like one of the heads of the way that we produce rap now, at least one of the founding fathers of rap production. So he's done everyone from like Jay-Z to Kanye to these really foreign things to rap, like Johnny Cash and folk musicians and just so many random people, everything in between. The Red Hot Chili Peppers, some of their most important records, anyway, list goes on. Chop Suey. Yeah. So he's a great talker as well. Worth checking out. Rick Rubin. And in conclusion, finally, I'm basically just parroting my little YouTube video. But it's and those who saw it know that the next one is Gabor Mate. I've listened to a lot of his podcasts lately. But I have one to add. I've been listening to Andrew Huberman, who's like a health guru, and
Okay.
not a guru, but he's a lecturer, and he's a really interesting guy. He's also big on the sauna. So obviously I'm partial to it. So I'm biased, but
You should talk to my wife, because those podcasts that you're mentioning
yeah.
are something that she would listen to.
Yep.
And she'll start telling me about them, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. But I'm going to piggyback on what you just said, though, about the finding somebody and then following them around on their podcast tours or whatever.
Yeah.
And I sent you one last week, and I totally forgot about it. And I have followed him around on his podcast tour, and this guy is fantastic. Kevin Nealon.
Oh, you really that was an amazing podcast.
I love Kevin Nealon. Like, when I listen to things, I like to laugh because my life is so crazy and hectic, and I just want to laugh when I listen to stuff. And same as when I watch stuff. I just want I want to laugh. I don't want serious. I'm not watching a documentary.
Yeah.
When I wind down, it's like, don't tell me about health diets and stuff. I just want to laugh. And
there are studies. Not to go too much into the people that you don't sound like too much of the people that you don't like, but there are studies that show that people who listen to comedy regularly live longer than people who don't.
There you go. I'll tell her. I'll tell my wife.
Yeah.
But Kevin Nealon is fantastic. He's so funny, and I just love the way that his humor is just like right up my alley. So he's done a whole tour. And if I could recommend one, is Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend with Kevin Nealon. Yeah. And I think I sent it to you, and I said, must listen.
Yep. I listened to it 3 times through.
I actually
2.5 times.
I listened to it twice.
Yeah.
It was so good.
It was so good. I mean, it's probably one of the best, like, back and forth, real time, non-scripted comedy banters I've ever heard.
Well, talk about using ADHD to your benefit.
Yep.
Like, he'll ask a question like, so what are you carving? What's the last surgery you had?
Right. Yeah.
When's the last time you wore a tuxedo? But while you're answering the last question, just these random strange. It was great.
Just creating beautiful, hilarious chaos.
Yeah, it was great. It was so chaotic.
So good. Well, when you and I first met, we shared. I think one of the things that bonded us was our shared love of Kevin Nealon goes hiking with Kevin Nealon.
Hiking with Kevin. Yeah.
And that's a great show. I've watched many of those.
He just started back again.
I saw the one with Paul Rudd. Did you see that one yet?
That's the first one back after a long hiatus. COVID knocked him out of the game for 2 years.
Did it?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
health wise, or he just stopped recording?
No, he couldn't get anybody or whatever. So,
Right. Yeah.
So all right then.
Well,
we did
it.
Anything in the mailbag?
We have got one simple question, and it's from Brian, and he asks if there are small things in our carvings that make a big difference. He kind of references when he carves eyes, he'll put a little white dot as a highlight once he's finished painting them. Mm-hmm. He says that one tiny little white dot makes all the difference when it comes to kind of defining the carving. And so what is that defining thing for you that makes your carvings hugely better from just a small thing?
2 dots.
Do you? Really?
I gotta find. I'm gonna find one. I'll grab one.
Yeah. Doug is currently walking around the studio. He's looking for a. Oh, he's back.
These are the first ones I grabbed, but I used to always do the 1 dot, and then I started doing 2. 1 big one and 1 small one.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
But anyway,
that's a 1 dot. Or is it 2?
It's a 2 dot.
See it.
It's a 2 dot. There it is. But anyway, it's all about the eyes to me, and things that make a difference is. These are bad examples because these are really old carvings. I don't hardly do things the same anymore. But things that make it pop is even outlining the eyeball with a line. A lot of guys just paint blue and then black, and then a white dot, but outlining the actual eyeball with a dark color.
Wait,
And
do you mean the iris, the colored part of the eye, where it meets the white of the eye?
Yes.
You do a
Making
darker line around there.
A distinct line.
I see.
And that, as well as now I like to shade the whole eye.
Huh.
Like a little bit of black, just so it's not white right to the eyelid. You put a little shading around there too. But I don't have any examples of that right now. But it is, to me, you're right. It is about the eyes that really make things pop.
Yeah.
So you kind of nailed it right off the bat.
Yeah.
Otherwise, little things, tiny things like if you had shoes on the bottom of your carving, maybe cut a little bit off the bottom of one and give a little shadow that your shoe kind of is raised a little bit, just so you can see underneath of it. Little things like that.
Champ for that edge, baby.
Yeah. How about you? You got anything?
I think probably like the first thing that came to mind is the way I carve the iris. I've started doing it a different way now that I prefer. It's where I kind of like carve a trench around the colored part of the eye. And I go a little deeper on one side to create that shadow, and then I leave less cut. I cut less on one side, and that makes that look like a highlight.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's probably my suggestion is like play around with the way that you finish your eyes. It does make a big difference.
On the bark carving, it is there's many different ways to do eyes, and I think I've done them all. And yeah, I like the trench idea too.
Right.
But leaving the iris.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where I used to just scoop it all out and put a hole in it. I think we're done.
That brings us. I was waiting. That's that, folks. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to us ramble on again.
We promise we'll have somebody on soon.
Or not.
Or not.
Maybe we'll just fold her up and we got a good 50.
Yeah. We're the boss.
We should
just wanted 52. To establish that we could do what we want.
Yeah, 52 is a year. We should at least make it to 52.
Take your vitamins, folks.
Oh.